Hi, this is Alia Bhatt and you're watching me on Midday. It's at least I would say 5 years now. I mean, idea of the book happened about 5 to 6 years ago. Like the idea to write a children's book and have a little girl and her dog go on these adventures of saving the planet or doing their bit, I would say, for the environment that they live in. So this is a book that is co-written by myself, Vivek Kamath and Shabnam Meenwala. Vivek and I sat together, made a decision to make a book like this, or like a book for children. And we knew sort of almost instantly that it was going to be a little girl and her dog. My intention was to set the book up as a series of books that we do over time, and it was at the time where this animation series and content for kids was really booming and finding its own sort of space in the sun. So it happened around that time, and we knew that the first book was going to be how this girl meets the dog. And then came all the layers about how she met him, and okay, we wanted it to be a rescue story. That's something that's very simple, but how do they meet each other? They both have their own individual qualities and they both sort of pick up and learn from each other. And then came the idea of giving this girl a superpower. As a little girl, I always felt that I had this own world in my mind that was going on, that was very different from everybody else's world. And I feel like every kid feels that way. Every kid feels like they've got their own world and they have an imaginary friend that they want to talk to, or an imaginary pet or something like that. So we put that into the book and made that into the girl's superpower, that she can talk to animals and she can talk to the trees and birds, and which is why she becomes their sort of confidant. And the adventures that they go on is all to help people. So I think in terms of the values of Edamama, as in the little girl and the dog, and what they do is very in sync with the values of the brand. So we wanted to merge them all under one umbrella, which I call as the universe of Edamama. Reflections, I would say, you would find things that every child sort of will relate to and connect with. A little bit of wonder, a little bit of reality. You know how you are like a bit of a daydreamer in class. Again, this is something that when I say we are co-collaborators on this book, because Shabnam brought a lot of this sort of bringing this sort of school environment into the book, and it was a great way to connect the kids who are going to be reading the book or who will be reading the book. And then it took me back to my childhood, where I used to be this daydreamer, always looking outside the window. You kind of feel like you're a bit of an oddball, even if you're not, even if you're totally doing normal things. You just feel like you're in your own head somewhere. So I brought that in, we brought that into the book in a very sort of seamless, normal way, where she's thinking that a crow is talking to her, but actually the crow's sounds like the teacher, Mrs. Uttam, but you're like, okay, but the crow is actually talking to me and actually saying something to me. So I need to listen to the crow, but the kids don't understand it. Also, this little bit about her stealing, as in the crow stealing the, her friends, not friends, or the classmates' foods. They're my friends' names, Kanchi and Bobby, that I put them into the book. Yeah, it's Kanchi's sandwich and Bobby's paratha. And genuinely, the truth is I used to always steal their food. Not steal, but take their food in front of their nose and eat it myself.
It reminds me of a memory from school.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Every kid will relate to it in a way, because every kid or adult today goes through very similar beats, like the broad strokes are the same. Or wanting to convince your parent to keep a pet. Like that's the most basic feeling that happens even today. So that's what the book also does, where she's like convincing her father, like, can we please keep him, can we please keep him? And he's like, oh, but kids are, pets are a lot of work, which is true. It's a responsibility that you have to take. And then they come up with this little plan of how they're going to make sure that the pet stays or how the dog stays. So all these things are very relatable, but through it is the influence and the values that we want to create as individuals. And again, it's something that I want to do very casually through entertainment. I don't think that anything that is said too loudly or like in a very preachy sort of way is ever taken as comfortably as something that is said through entertainment. I think all children's books are just innocent, right? Like they have a lot of magic and wonder and a lot of feeling to it. But yeah, definitely I did do a last final draft just before the book went into print, of just how certain words connected to one another and how they rolled off the tongue and that I did after going through the experience of reading every night to my own daughter. So I changed a lot of things last minute because of the experience that I'm currently going through, in a good way. Like I feel like it added only more of like a sort of understanding to the whole process. Oh, I haven't reached that stage yet, so I have no real advice to give. Also, in general, I always steer away from giving advice because I feel everybody has their own journey and own experience. And I'm telling you as a first-hand kid. As a child, my mother used to force me to read. I never did it. I just could never read. My sister was always the reader. I was more interested in doing things outdoors and like staying in my head and looking outside my window and imagining. And my mother finally let me do that. And I think that it has its benefits of its own. But in general, what I'm trying to do is also in terms of, it's something that you just naturally as a parent will decide to do. We just read to her every night. So it's like it's a norm, it's a routine that has just been happening since day one. And it doesn't change. So you try and keep it up as long as possible until either they reject it or they keep accepting it. All things happen at the right time, and I've always, because of my, where does writing come from? It comes from here. It comes from your imagination. I perhaps can't see a book through, or I haven't been able to yet, or see anything through on my own. It always sort of tipples off and falls off. Like I always start writing random things, whether it's stories or scripts or anything. Actually, I only completed a full story apart from this was when during the lockdown when we were at home. I took a script writing course and everything, and I completed a story and I wrote a full story then. I should find that story somewhere. Actually, it was about a little boy who was unable to tie his shoelaces and was very embarrassed by it, again because I feel like this is something that happens quite a bit. Yeah, so I feel like writing actually comes from your mind and your soul. It's about really bringing yourself to do it, and I would not have been able to do it without Vivek and Shabnam in this case. So I intend to keep that going for the Edamama series, is have a bit of me, but also have a bit of other writers as well, and co-collaborators or co-storytellers, I would say. So I'm like really looking forward to one day maybe collaborating, not one day, on one book, because book 2 is already written, but maybe 3 and 4 to have like my sister Shaheen come on board as a co-storyteller. I've already told her that she should do it.
Shaheen is a writer.
Is a writer herself, and she's actually seen it. It takes a lot of discipline. And to your earlier question, how did your imagination be? I think that's what also fuels my interest as an actor, is I'm overall interested in the overall storyline. I'm so excited by scripts when they come to me. Even if I'm not going to do it, I'll give my suggestions. I think you should do this, I think you should do that. Because it's something that I find so fascinating. Again, I won't be able to do it on my own. Like it'll have to be in collaboration. But yeah, way more of a possibility than being a director.
Way more.
Yeah, people ask me, do you think you'll direct? I said, I don't think so. I think I'll be a producer, which I am. I'll be a producer and I'll co-create, but I don't think I'll ever be a director. It's too much. I'll be just a pain as a director, and people will be confused on a daily basis because I'll keep changing my mind.
Okay, that's a lot of insight.
This, what I said, is to launch the books one by one. So Ed Finds a Home is number 1. It's basically how your protagonists meet, the hero and the heroine, how they meet, and now part 2, 3, as in like the next couple of books would be the different journeys that they go on, and how they in their own way save the day.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.